So it is week 9 already, and this week we were talking about whole food diets and treating conditions. So I wanted to share with you just what I've been working on personally and with my capstone, the low-histamine diet, and how that affects just being a histamine intolerant or having a histamine sensitivity. So I'm going to do a take on a pesto. I love pesto, but I used to make it. It was vegan just because I never put cheese or anything in there. But there were ingredients in there that I can no longer have and would not be appropriate for the low histamine diet. So this is going to be a different take on that. But essentially, what's going on with being histamine intolerant or sensitive is that your body, for whatever reason, whether it's a genetic issue, which is typically the case, or some other condition, your body just isn't breaking down histamine quickly enough or efficiently enough. So histamine is a huge part of the immune system, very important. But when we have excess histamine, it becomes a problem, and there's a lot of symptoms that can range from like migraines to having rashes, having hormone imbalances. There's quite a list, and they don't really seem to correlate, so it can be hard to diagnose this condition. But the best way to treat it by far is the low histamine diet. So there's histamine in foods, and then there's also foods that may not have like really high levels of histamine, but when you eat them, it makes your immune system release histamine, because you do have histamine in pretty much all of your cells. And those are called histamine liberators. So between avoiding high histamine foods and histamine liberator foods, this diet is pretty limiting. And I'd say the biggest thing of all is how fresh your food is. That is like probably number one priority, because the older food is, the more fermented it is, the higher the histamine levels are going to be. So anyways, I am going to make a turmeric chicken along with my pesto, and then I am able to have brown rice. So I have a brown rice pasta, and then also some fresh broccolini. So I will show you everything right now. Okay, so here is my fresh broccolini. I just bought it from the store today. It's organic. So obviously the best would be to be locally grown and organic, but I wasn't able to find that. As far as freshness goes. But my pesto, I'm excited about. I actually haven't tried this recipe. I found it off of a blog called The Histamine Kitchen. So I'm excited. So the main ingredient is baby kale, which I also just bought today, and it looked pretty fresh. Fresh basil, macadamia nuts, so it should like have a nice creaminess. Some fresh garlic, and then olive oil. So this one is tricky because there's different histamine food lists that say you can have it, that say you can't. So I would say the best thing is make sure that, it is organic and in a dark bottle. So just less chance of the olive oil being rancid, because that is definitely something that can happen. And then also just a couple sprigs of fresh thyme, and then some salt and pepper to spice that all up. So it's very green and herby, versus like I would put nutritional yeast and lemon juice in my old pesto. So I'm curious to see how this comes out. And then I have some brown rice noodles. The only ingredient is brown rice, so I think that's okay. It's not something I would probably recommend having every day if you're low histamine, but just to have like the pasta pesto, we're going to have some brown rice pasta. And then I got some organic chicken breast. The thing with this, though, is that I freeze the meat when I get it, and that actually helps lower the histamine, because meat can really build up histamine, and it's just impossible to get like fresh right out of the butcher meat unless you're going to pay like, a lot, going way over my food budget for sure. So that's actually a really cool tactic, is to freeze your meat. And then I'm going to season it with some turmeric, which is anti-inflammatory, is very encouraged on a low histamine diet. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out with the broccolini. Okay, so just a quick update. I put all the ingredients in here in my Cuisinart, and now I just have to blend it. I did have extra basil, so after I blend it, I'll taste it, see if it needs more. or maybe they'll be good to go. And then I also have my broccolini stir frying in the pan and my pasta going. So I'm just have some avocado oil in that, and then just salt and pepper, and then I will take that off the pan and then throw the chicken on there and then combine it all together and then toss it in with the pasta when everything's done. Okay, another update. So my brown rice pasta is all done. I'm letting it cool a little bit. My pesto, I really like it. It's very different. I guess I have to kind of go into it like it's not exactly going to taste like pesto because that like cheesy nutritional yeast flavor isn't there, but it's just like a really like flavorful herb, and the bitterness of the kale, but with the like fattiness of the macadamia nut. I really like it. I did add the rest of my basil, and then I think that I would recommend maybe using 1 clove of garlic because it is really garlicky and spicy, which I personally like, but just generally I think people might think it's too garlicky. And then I'm done sauteing my broccolini, and then my chicken is cooking right now. But yeah, we're getting close to done. Okay, so here is my final product. We have the turmeric chicken. So I just cut up some shallot and sauteed that for a little bit in avocado oil, then threw the chicken and put some turmeric spice and salt and pepper. And then I have my broccolini, and then the pasta is underneath that. Okay, so just to wrap up week 9's cooking video, I chose this recipe. I think one of the biggest reasons is because being on this low histamine diet and it being so limiting, I think it's kind of cool when you can make like classic recipes that you used to have that you really aren't supposed to have anymore, like pesto. I used to have that a lot, but still like changing things up and being innovative and creative, and then all of a sudden you can have pesto again. It's not the same, but it's still a variation of it. So it makes limited diets a little bit more, I don't know, just more tolerable, I guess would be the word. So that's partially why I picked this. And then I also thought it was just like a good recipe just to kind of showcase what's behind a low histamine diet, especially like the freshness, and just being very conscious about, not having overly processed foods, and it just being as low histamine as possible because it is fresher. So things I would change about this recipe, I might tweak and play around with the pesto a bit more. It was a little garlicky, so that's part of it, but I think that this was like a good starter, or foundation pesto recipe that is low histamine, but I think there's some other potential things I could do to make it even better. And then, yeah, I hope this was what you were looking for as far as like picking a recipe that went along with a condition, such as histamine intolerance. So let me know. And then week 10, it looks like we're doing something with Chinese medicine recipes. So I'm excited, and I'll see you then.